because this is what it does. It appeals to like the male fantasy.
Hello.
Hi, welcome back.
Welcome to episode 8 of the Spoilers Book Club. This is part 2 of our discussion of Bring Me the Head of Prince Charming by Roger Zelazny and Robert Sheckley. I think you're having fun with this one.
Yes, this is turning to be one of my favorite books.
Really?
Yeah, it's really fun.
Like favorite or just of like the Zelazny that I've introduced you to, or
yes, that both.
Okay.
I actually it's really fun and like has a lot of fantasy in it. A lot of fun characters and new and interesting details about them all.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
I
It's been a
like it
few
a
years
lot.
since I had read it. I've read it a few times before, but
Yeah, I feel like
yeah.
it's delves into a lot of different characters, and I like that.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm excited
So,
about it.
so we established for the chapters start over repeatedly.
Yeah.
So in some ways it's like easy to lose each other as far as what part we're at. But we're in the section entitled Prime, chapter 1, and we're gonna go through all of Prime. And do we also have
It's
this
just
section
Prime.
called Illith, or is just Prime?
I think it's just
I think
Prime.
We stop at
We stop.
Illith.
Yeah, and then it goes.
That's the next one.
Oh, Illith. That's how you say it.
That's how I say it. I don't know. How are you saying it in your head?
In my Gilf.
Ilv?
Gilf.
That's a lot harder. that could be right, but that's harder.
Oh.
I'm thinking just Illith.
Yeah, let us know what you guys how you who's right.
And then there's the other character who's Mylith that appears briefly and then disappears. Mylith? Well, it'd be Milith or Mylith.
Yeah.
Just MILF? Is that how you pronounce it in your head? I don't think that's what the sound that TH makes.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah.
Milith.
Yeah, I think I was joking in my mind about that.
So what's happening?
Chapter 1.
Oh, yeah.
So Azzy and Freak. I like the name too. All the names are great. They're just arguing about what to do with the how or why to get heads for these bodies and this thing, because they had that great story about the woman and man, and he's like, oh, let's go find where she's buried.
Adley's on an
he's
endless
determined
search for a good head.
Yeah. He's determined to get that head. So.
But he's decided it has to be Miranda's head. So the woman that Felipe actually wronged has to find the same head that goes with the prince head that he already has. Yeah,
because they make a good couple somehow. So they went to go find it because, as he's right, he's boss anyway. And there wasn't much time. They were starting to worry about the time, and they came along to the house, and there's a smell of wine, and then wham! He finds himself inside of a bottle.
Yeah, well, how did he find the place to go to get the head?
Went to find the place where she was buried, right?
Well, he had to invoke some magical assistance to find the head.
Oh, yeah.
So he conjures the Morgan, that trio of crows, or are they ravens?
And this is from that whole story that the alchemist was like telling them about, this couple and all that. that stuff.
So they find where we're supposed to be. As he goes in, falls in sort of a trapdoor, something, ends up in a bottle.
To a bottle, no straw. Chapter 2. So there's 3 guys. Find out they're the brothers of Miranda.
Yeah.
And they just kept her on ice this whole time because the alchemist told them, oh, there's gonna be a demon.
Yeah.
It'll come searching for him. Little tricky guy.
Said,
that'll like her head.
Like hers would tempt a demon.
Oh yeah.
But they don't speak of their sister very well.
Yeah, that.
They're calling her
let's see.
A witch and a whore.
Yeah, she just ran off and
they're just hanging on to the head because they think they can make money off of it.
Yep.
So I think all of that makes them less sympathetic to what happens to them.
Yeah, so as he's just pretty chill about it, he's like, I'll pay you. Let me out. I have some things I need to do. I can pay you for the head, whatever you need, and let's just get this over with because I got things to do. He's like so chill about it. And then they're like, oh, no. We want 3 wishes. And he's like, well, you have to let me out to get the wishes. And then they're like, oh, okay. And then they're like, okay, go back in. And then he's like, okay.
So,
and you're like, wait, what?
Negotiating with them.
Who's not smart
they
here?
decide to threaten him with an incantation.
Yeah,
and
he's like, they're not very smart. Yeah.
And he criticizes their pronunciation.
Yeah, he's like, you're doing it all wrong.
So he really is trapped in the bottle. Like bottles can trap demons. It mentions that the very first bottle created was some Chinaman that created the bottle just so they could trap a demon.
Yeah, they kind of go into a history of it. It's really interesting.
Yeah, so he's
really
pretty chill about it, and he's negotiating, and then he gets them, like, he unstoppers it. He comes out, and he makes himself really big to intimidate them.
And they're kind of not really intimidated, and they kind of tell him to get back in.
Well, they think they caught him. They're like, wow, you're so big. I bet you couldn't even fit in the bottle.
Oh, yeah, and he's like, oh,
it's like, reminds me something of like the trick in classic Puss in Boots. Where the version I remember I liked, there was sort of a live action Puss in Boots that I used to watch as a kid. And I don't know if they all go this way. He was dealing with like a shapeshifter. Puss was, and he like conned him into like, wow, you can do any shape, like huge, massive, like elephants and monsters, and it's like, yeah, but I bet you couldn't do it little, something little, and something small, and he cons him into turning himself into a mouse, and then Puss, being a cat, eats the mouse and defeats the big evil bad guy. What's the acronym you have in or the abbreviation you have for that in Dungeons and Dragons?
Oh,
big bad evil guy, BBEG or something. Is that what it is? Yeah, so he ate the BBEG and turning into a mouse. So this reminds me a little bit of that, but it's the demon.
And they're like, oh, I bet you.
And the brothers try to con him. It's like, oh no.
And you're like, is he really not that smart?
Yeah.
Like, oh.
And they swear on their souls that they won't trap him and put a stopper in it. He's like, okay, fine, I'll get in the bottle. And then they trap him in the bottle.
And then I love in chapter 3 where he's like, oh no, not chapter 3. Then he's like, telling a story about all the different history on all of them. And then he's like, oh, and then look at this. And then the European ones have this. And he cuts it with his diamond ring, pops out.
He had his way out the whole time, but he got them to
chill about it.
Give up their souls.
Yeah, he's like
swear on their souls, and then they broke their promise. So then apparently by the rules that operate in this world, he gets to collect their souls.
That was so easy.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you know, we early on when you have the story of Miranda and Felipe, sort of thinking, you know, the brothers come along to avenge their sister and all
And
this,
you're
and
like,
just generate,
aw.
yeah. And then you actually meet the brothers in the story. They're like, these guys are shitheads. So it doesn't seem like so bad that they're
Yeah, and then they're like, oh,
completely gave up their souls or whatever.
yeah.
I can't give up my soul. I need it for dancing. I
That
don't
goes
remember what
on
that's
too.
from.
I don't know what that's from.
It's a movie. My mind is poisoned by movies. Chapter 3. They're back at the chateau, putting the
Yeah.
bodies together.
So he's all comfortable and cozy with Frank and sewing, and he's reading, and then he heads over to sign for the castle, Transylvania.
What's Frike doing with the bodies, though? I like that detail.
Oh, that he's like sewing them with. He's sewing them so well.
And also, like, sewing them
The
together
thread.
all mixed
Oh,
up.
yeah, and he's like kind of doing it on purpose, and he's like, stop doing that.
Yeah. Threats him with
And he's
eternal
like,
torment.
oh,
Like,
okay.
"Ugh."
Okay, I'll.
And
I'll
there's
not do
the
this.
spot where they have to fix Miranda's hand. Yes.
Oh, because her hand is backwards, or.
No, the hands that they have for her, and they've already seems as though they've sewn them on. One of them's too big,
Oh.
and apparently, like, that wasn't the problem as much as they're the wrong, like, the color of them doesn't match.
Oh, that's
So as he
what,
goes
like.
out and he finds a replacement hand, and this point, the authors go out of the way to say that it's a hand of a pickpocket that matched so well.
Oh, that was perfect.
Yeah. So like,
Yeah.
there's no good reason for that to come up unless it comes up later.
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
foreshadowing is another Chekhov's gun type situation. Yeah.
So then he goes to head over and sign for the castle.
Receive the castle from Supply.
Yeah, and which is so interesting the way they have like the scenery set up, and they're like creating it with. They have like dragons and stuff building dams. It's just like, and he's like, oh, you can put it over here, and then he's like, oh, you need more gems. He's like, oh, I thought it came with a enchanted forest. It didn't say enchanted forest. And he's like, bribing him with these gems that he stole.
So I'm so amused by the portrayal of the bureaucracy of hell.
So
like
interesting.
It's like, yeah, that's very fitting for hell to have this bureaucracy that you can't get away from. But Azzy also is just, he's a bad customer. Because he ordered one thing and then he's like, oh no, and this and this.
He's like,
and
I
this.
can just
You're supposed
fit
to
it in
include.
here.
No, you should just give me all these other
It
things
needs
I
an
didn't ask for. Why didn't you read my
forest.
mind?
Yeah, it needs like all these other things.
So Glass Mountain.
It needs to. The castle needs to be
I
on
can't read
top
my
of a glass mountain.
Oh, Glass Mountain, Enchanted Forest,
And the
then
forest
a road.
had something.
The flaming trees.
Yeah, flaming trees.
And then also, Magical Thorns.
Yeah, magical.
It explains what they're doing. I like the response of the delivery guy. Impaling's extra.
Impaling's extra. Yeah.
But as he, just uses the bag of jewels that he conned off the dwarf earlier, just to bribe this guy to get the other things that he needs. And I do like the detail of the moat being dug by the dragons too. That's amusing.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, nobody thought to get excavating equipment, so they just brought in some dragons.
Yeah. Have a heavy rain and it'll be full, and
and
then he put a couple swans.
Conjured up a storm.
Maybe a couple swans. Yeah. And then it was perfect. So on chapter 4.
So they get back before they round out 3. They close up back at the mansion. The bodies are all together, and like the stitches are disappeared because of the ichor. But pointed out that they still have no eyes.
No eyes. What are we gonna do about those eyes?
Yeah.
So as he tried to conjure up a witch, he used to know, and that's where the MILF came in. Or wait,
Which is like,
MILF.
yeah. But he
You'll-
decides to look to his permanent dating pool for help on finding eyes. It's like
Then he
super
kind
random.
of talks about witches and how they're just gonna, yeah, they like to, they're like part of the demon dating
Yeah,
pool.
witches Sabbaths are like nightclubs and
Yes, that was fascinating. So first he conjured up the wrong woman, and he was like, "Oh, so embarrassing."
Lilith.
And then he conjured up Yilth. How did you say it?
Elith?
Elith. That makes more sense. Maybe.
I don't know.
I feel like that
It's
sounds
easier.
better.
It's easier for my mouth.
Elith. And a nightgown. Ooh.
Sexy witches.
And he's like, "Oh, if I go back and get her clothing." More
It's
like,
been-
we need some alone time.
Which has been centuries since he had contact
Yeah,
with
it's
this
just
witch.
like, what the?
So
You just.
yeah, it also establishes the witches are very, very long lived, much like the demons. And
'Cause I'm
it's
like,
just
how is
really
she not
random, like
ancient?
it's been I've been busy for centuries, but
He's like, I've been stuck. I've
You
been stuck
should-
in
yeah.
the pits.
Stuck in the
and-
pits. She
Yeah.
says, I've heard that one before.
Yeah.
So their exchange and their
Telling
little
all of her
bickering back and
problems.
forth is
Yeah.
pretty fun.
Yeah. Very cute.
I enjoy that.
Then
But when he sends Frike to get her clothes because she was just in her nightie,
yeah.
he forgets about him for hours while he's
What?
telling Lilith all about the plans and things that have happened to him.
Mm.
So
And then in chapter 5,
yeah,
he takes Ilith to see the bodies.
and
And
like
then
how
he kind of like talks
points
about
out that they're draped because it turns out that they will look better slightly clad than not clad at all.
Yeah. And he kind of talks about how he like loves her, but he didn't always like her, and it was kind of interesting. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
and he
little
says,
love
"Oh, she's my
story."
best friend, and I go to her when I have a problem."
Yeah. And he wants her help.
Yeah,
So he's like, "Can you help me with these eyes?" And she was his best friend, so it's okay.
yeah, she needs some convincing. And
He told her that he loved her, and
well, as
Like-
he's starting to try to convince her,
Mhm.
and he's going on about like doing evil, furthering bad. But when he's trying to convince her, still uses the line. It's like, "Oh, but it's the right thing to do."
yeah.
Like, wait,
He's
it's
like-
a little confusing. But then his thought processes are explained a little bit as he says that he's preparing to lie.
Mhm.
But then the next thing he's saying that, like, well, you
Just
should do
tells
this because
her
I love
the
you.
Truth. Yeah.
But earlier, when it wasn't dialogue and it was just, he was, like, his actual feelings and connections with Illith are explained. It says that he does love her, even though sometimes doesn't always like her, and there's this back and forth. So, like, well, so where's the lie yet? Because it's not that he loves her, because he does.
He's
least
a
in his
demon, so he
demon
has
way.
conflicting interests.
So they like have to sort of isolate out which part is the lie,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So, yeah. And it's like, he tries so hard to be bad. It's just interesting.
So I guess there is a part of this, maybe there's like 2 reasons why he's been absent. He does start to lie then. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, well, now that the bad enchantment is finally off, you know,
Mhm.
now I can see you. And then it's like, well, which bad enchantment? It's like, well, I can't talk about it, or it's not going to be
You're like, what?
part of the conditions of it being
How is this
lifted
possible?
is that we don't talk about it. And so he just tries to pretend like he never said it.
Yeah. So she's like, so then it goes on.
Should never
Chapter
leave
6.
again. She's
She
like, you have
should-
to promise, like, I'll help you,
Oh,
but you have to
you
promise.
can't leave again. Yeah.
I really like the
He's like,
response.
okay.
He's like, all right, I promise. It's like, Lane's there to
If...
best. Under
Under...
normal circumstances,
Yeah.
I promise.
Under abnormal.
And she's asking,
I
like, what does
promise.
that mean? Conditions that are not abnormal.
Yeah, that's what it was. Conditions that are not abnormal.
It's quite cute. I'm going to have to use that later. Just forget where I got that from.
Cute. So it's getting very warm in here. My
Chapter
cheeks are getting
6.
red.
Wait, too hot.
So in chapter 6, Elith went to find someone for advice, a dragon. That's where she wanted to go.
Yes.
She was like, I know somebody. So then they go into this like whole interesting lore of dragons and how they used to like hoard and fight, and then they're like, oh, we need to stop doing that. They have like a little dragon meeting, and then like this makes me think of that Dragon Tales cartoon. I don't know if you ever saw that. They're very intelligent, community-minded dragon.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, but it's just interesting how they're like, oh, let's all meet up and we're all not gonna hoard and fight champions anymore because then you die. That's what happens. You get stabbed in the eye. Like,
duck and dodge.
yeah, we never get, so now we're just ducking and dodging and hiding.
Right.
And yeah, it's just, that was kind of interesting.
I think the character of the dragons is interesting too, and their powers, like they're just are like so intellectual. They don't care about procreating anymore. When they
fight over
they can
stuff.
disguise themselves as like anything. They can hide underwater.
Mm-hmm.
They can be mountains. They can.
So their numbers are going down.
People.
Anyway.
That spells to look like people and go into human society and interact too.
Mm-hmm. But they mostly just like to argue, and it's hard for them to breathe because they're arguing so much. And
so Illith goes to find this dragon at Dragon Rock.
Was his name Slander? What was his name? Scander? I think my phone kept turning into Slander.
Autocorrect.
Yeah.
Why must you? But the Dragon Rock, the theory being that the best place to hide from the heroes trying to hunt down the dragons is a place named Dragon Rock, because they'll never look there. It's too obvious.
Too obvious. Dragon Rock.
But then the surrounding town of Dragon Rock is also trying to make it like a tourist attraction with the actual dragon.
Yeah.
But it's not working because the dragon boom has not yet arrived.
Yeah, they had a few people trying to come there or something, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
So
Scander.
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 Yeah. And Scander gave her his eyes. Did he actually die?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like, oh.
So she wants to ask him about eyes. We can just look at this and read a bit.
Yeah.
So she finds where he's hiding there.
Mm-hmm.
And he explains what he's doing there. He's going to help with the tourism and whatnot. And Elith asks him, where can I get some really good eyes? Eyes? Scander mused. Why, there are eyes everywhere. Why do you bother asking me? You know where the best ones are. All dragons do. Yes, of course, Scander said. But I'd really rather not discuss eyes, if you don't mind.
Yeah. And then he kind of talks about how dragons always get stabbed in their eyes.
Well,
that's how they die easier.
We moves on just a little bit later.
Okay.
He said they're superstitious. Sorry. She asked Kara to tell me about it. Like, all right. Long ago in China, I saw that whenever the court artist painted dragons, he always put in the eyes last. When I asked him of this, he told me that this act gave the paintings a special sort of life, and it wouldn't do to summon this life until everything else was done. A wise man told him that the eyes of my kind are the focus of the spirit. They hold the life. They are the last things to go. I looked up that wise man then, an old Taoist monk, and he assured me that this was true. He also prophesied that a witch asking after eyes in my presence represented a total reversal of yin and yang. And she asked, what does that mean? And then he said, when a Citizen Kane, he says, Rosebud. And then he closes his eyes and he's dead.
Yeah. And you're like, what?
It's like super random Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's the right film I'm thinking of. Film reference. And then he dies. As just kind of sad and very abrupt. And it's like, well, he's dead. So then she just takes the eyes.
Takes the eyes, the last thing to go.
He didn't want to talk to her about the eyes because basically he knew that that's when he was going to die.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Rosebud bit was really funny.
Rosebud. I was like, what? I'm supposed to understand this. Sad.
I really like that sled.
Another dragon. Bites the dust. So chapter 7, Elith came back to find Azzy where that he had been. And she's like, where is he? What happened to him? He was gone, right?
Yeah. He's missing. Frank is
freaking out. Frank is freaking. So he's almost out of ichor and ice, and he was conjured away. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, the bodies are going to go bad.
She's like, don't worry, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to fix this with woman's magic. And he's like, okay.
That's interesting, like, sort of giving details on the lore of the world, where she's asking for very specific details about how Azzy was like conjured and how he disappeared away. It was like really specific, and apparently it's like supposed to mean something, but we don't really find out what kind of
direction was he turning.
Yeah,
which way was he doing this? And
did he go right or left? Did he waver first? Was it or was it in a puff? Or...
Yeah,
so apparently all of that means something to the witch, but we don't really find out what the specifics are.
So, yeah, that was a short chapter. And then chapter 8, Elith went to see the harpies.
Harpies and the sirens.
Her broom. She just flying witch on a broom. And she flew past a behemoth. Right? Is that right? And there's she went to see if they could help her, and
she tells them about Azzy's complete plan, and they really like,
and they're like, ooh,
yeah, but also
like
initially don't want to be involved. They're like, what's that have to do with us? We're not gonna go find him. She's like, no, I just need you to
move the bodies,
to keep them cold so they don't rot.
Yeah,
and
they agree because they like the idea.
Pretty horrible like creatures to be around.
Yeah, they like eat
just to torment things.
Yeah.
And there's the
eat men and
also the description of fiery excrement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they like the idea of evil going on for another millennium, so they're like, yes,
they're on that side.
Let's do it. So then chapter 9, like, oh, nobody told Frank.
Yeah.
All these harpies just blast into the place. Like,
he's already having a rough time. He disappears, and then the harpies burst in and steal the bodies.
And he's like gonna shoot them, but it's too late. They're already gone. And yeah. And he's just like wondered what happened as he like, no.
Things have gone from bad to worse.
Yeah.
It's fiery excrement everywhere. Gotta clean that up.
Gross. Maybe? No. Gross. And they smell bad. He's like, they smelled bad and they're here. Yeah. So then chapter 10, you find out, okay, we all kind of thought, oh, who would conjure up Azzy? And you're like, oh, that little girl that
Yeah.
he made a promise to.
This whole chapter is very cute.
Yeah, I like it.
To round out
So
our
much.
section for the week.
Yeah, so Bridget is there, and she's there with her dad, and Azzy's in the pentagram all conjured up, but he can't go outside of it.
As it's written, can't get any more conjured than that.
Yeah, whatever that means.
It's just it's stuck inside the pentagram. Can't stand up. It's all slippery. It keeps falling down.
Yeah, and so him, the dad, and the daughter are going back. She's like, "Oh, I want a doll," and he's like, "No, don't do that. You need to make a good wish."
Just being a nasty bully.
Yeah, he's just like, make a good wish. Dang it, he's gonna get you millions, or whatever. He's gonna have him give me all the money, and then I'll buy you whatever you want. You can have servants and blah 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 blah. And she's like, "Oh, maybe," and then Illith saves the day. She like flies in, and the little girl's like, "Wow." Oh well, first Azzy is like, "Be quiet," to the dad, and he's just silenced. He can't talk, and she's like, "What?"
Well, Brigitte says, "I wish you'd just be quiet." Something to that effect. And so Azzy's like, "Done," and her father can't speak, but she stands her ground and fights. Like, no, that I was talking to him, not you.
Yeah.
But and then Azzy still doesn't release the father to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's nice.
Yeah,
he's like, finally
stuck. He's a bully.
Yeah.
A little bit prior to that. So I like this line here. Once humans got too much knowledge, they became dangerous.
Yeah.
A lot of ways we could look at that, maybe as being a case. We could also just consider the forbidden apple and the Garden of Eden. Like maybe it was like started with that too much knowledge, and they became dangerous. But yeah.
And then
Azzy had told Illith about the little girl and her,
so she's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you told me."
So she guessed that that's where he was stuck.
Yeah.
And he was. So she comes in and then she says,
and Bridget is so enamored by her. Just like, "Oh wow, a witch on a broom. I want to be like you and ride a broomstick and enchant people."
So she asked the little girl, like, "So what do you want to be when you grow up?"
Yeah.
And Bridget says, "When I was little, I wanted to be a princess." And Illith says, "I don't know whether Azzy can handle that." Like, Bridget replies, "I don't want that now. Now I want to be a witch."
I want to be a witch.
I'm like, cool.
Ride a broomstick and enchant people, yeah.
Illith agrees to probably take her as an apprentice or whatever, and she's older. And one final act before they all depart, and
the dad, she's
Thomas
like, "Oh,
Scrivener's
can you make him talk
about
again?"
to like hit her,
and
Illith like freezes his arm and threatens him and says that she's gonna be looking out for her now too.
Yeah, she can turn you into mincemeat soon enough, so you better cool down.
Yeah. So you have
so she got the best of the abusive father.
The two on the evil side outdoing good. So really, the further you get into this story, I'd say, and then in the sequels too, all the things just get more and more blurred. Like, who's a good guy? Who's a bad guy? Are you doing?
Yeah.
Can you do evil things to further good? If you're doing good things to further evil, is it still evil? And it's very fun read, but you can also take it in other ways and actually let your gears turn about it a lot. And like,
keep going.
What is this?
What is
it actually saying about actual nature of good and evil and right and wrong, all kind of bundled into just this fun, wacky, irreverent adventure.
Yeah, it's fun.
With lots of cannibalism and
Yeah.
witches with nice tits.
Flying around.
So next week, we'll have the following section. I think it's sort of at least like 2 parts. So Terce, and then, which maybe focuses on Illith. Do you have the page numbers ready? Available to look up? You were asking me about it, so probably not.
No, because I was going to bring my book for that reason.
Let's see how messy this gets when I pull this up while we're broadcasting.
Oh.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. But, okay. So we just went over pages 71 to 120 in the paperback edition that we've got here. Yeah, so pages 121 to 205, or the sections Terce and Sext. The next 2 big sections there.
Sext.
And we're halfway through. We've done 2 episodes on this, and we'll have 2 more episodes, and we'll finish it up. And we have Friday the 29th. I think we're going to take off, or we'll do a short thing, and then December is when we'll be starting The Stupidest Angel, which is another great fun one. It's Christopher Moore, so track that one down. I haven't looked to see if it's an audiobook or whatever, but I'd be kind of surprised if it wasn't because of the era that it came out. It is. You already checked? Hey, nice.
Yay.
Well, thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this section as well. If you didn't get to share your thoughts in the chat, you can always comment down below. You can find some like thumbs up thing for likes, or I don't know, there's a subscribe-y bit, a subscribe-y bit somewhere. I think that's going to be it for today. Thanks again. Have a good night.